Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio with Scott, Shane, and Paris. And tonight we are going to delve into our prepping crystal ball. I don't know. It fits in a number 10 can, apparently. We're going to be talking about 2026, what we think is going to happen, what we've been watching for 2025, and clue you in on everything that we might just be clueless about. But we'll find out during this episode. So I want to remind you guys, check out preppertalkradio.com for all of your prepping needs. We've got links to all the stuff we like. We also have a link to a really cool supplement company, 100% wholesale pricing available to all of you guys. And it's clean, third-party lab tested. I've not found better prices on all these things anywhere. So go to preppertalkradio.com/goodlife to check it out. And there's a nice little side hustle with it. You can promote it too. We promote it, and it's been fantastic for us. So check it out. Guys, are you guys ready? Or are you guys
No.
We are
We're not
ready.
ready.
We may be ready-minded, but we're not ready-bodied.
I don't know. This is a long topic, man. This is I don't, when I suggested this, as I was preparing, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have suggested this. This is
that was a mistake.
It was a mistake. Yeah.
Mistakes were made.
What did I get myself into? This is
Mistakes were made in the filming of this video.
Well, it's funny because I've been thinking about 2026 for quite a while, right? From the positive mindset, I'm like, okay, business goals, personal goals. Yeah, 2026, that's the year that kicks. Like, we're going to just launch a bunch of stuff. We're going to get in the best shape of my life, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to, got a baby coming. 2026 should be exciting, but I'm a little bit nervous because of how 2025 has gone, mostly in the international space, geopolitical stuff. I'm trying to be positive, and I'm not seeing the evidence enough to back up my positivity, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, as I was going through my list, I'm like, what am I doing? What is there anything that's good that's going to happen in 26 besides the new baby, right? And so I spent some time thinking about that as well.
It's funny. I was talking to a friend who's a realtor, and he's like, "How are things going?" And we were talking about it. He goes, "Man, it's getting crazy out there." He's like, "Man, I just don't see any possibility of good things happening in the future." And I was like positive and responding. I'm like, "Oh no, there's so much to have good hope for." It's like you just got to get better prepared, and that was yesterday. And today I'm like going back through the headlines and the things we've talked about for the year and the things that I'm watching for next year. And I'm like, crap. I went down a rabbit hole, a deep, dark, gloomy, doomy rabbit hole. And I'm like, this is going to be a little heavy of an episode, I think.
Yeah, and I was thinking also, instead of ending with this note, maybe start with it, is don't be afraid, do not fear, right? Mm-hmm. That is why we prepare, right? If you're prepared, you shall not fear. And I mean, that's what Christ preached. He said that all the time, is do not fear. And because a lot of the stuff he said was probably pretty scary to some people. I mean, if you think about it, he came to bring a sword and not peace, right? To divide people.
Well, what's crazy is they did that. There's always that. I haven't personally counted, but I've heard a lot of people say that do not fear is in the Bible 365 times, which means it's there for us every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, that's the reality of life. There's always going to be concerns. There's always going to be some potential for chaos, not just potential for chaos. It probably the vast majority of life is controlled chaos, and hopefully you have what level of control you have is really where the differentiator comes in. But there's going to be some crazy stuff in 2026, but if you're ready for it, you're preparing for it, and you got to remember that macro level stuff could happen. And for example, you in certain markets, let's just talk about the stock market really quickly, because that's something we're going to get to in the episode. But you could literally have I don't know if you guys know this, but there's 11 sectors. I think there's 11. I'm pretty sure there's 11 sectors. And you could have one sector completely crashing, like like spiraling down, and another sector is like on the rise, full bull market. Everything's great, and it just depends on what sector you're invested in and where are you focused on it. And if you're smart, if you have your money diversified across a bunch of different things, and you're not paying the attention, and you're just head in the sand, and you're head up your where or head up your you're gonna get hit by the bear market or the downturns that are happening. But that's just an analogy. Life, we could have a great year with our own preps, with our personal physicality, like working out, losing weight, getting our finances in order. We could have a great year with our personal business, while other businesses in the economy are crashing and dying and burning, and you could have everything going on in the world crashing and burning, but your little section of the world, your little world is thriving because you were ready, you're prepared, your eyes were open, and you were awake. So my idea is that, we need to be aware of what the world's doing, but we also need to be ready for, hey, you know what? I could probably be okay. And in my little world, try to make that as much as okay as possible, and do my part to make sure that if the sky is falling, it won't fall on me.
Gotcha. So that makes me think of, Warren Buffett, what did he do in the last year? He moved a crap ton of stuff to cash. Why?
Billions to cash.
Why? Because he knows what's coming, right? He's watched the market long enough. He knows there's a massive correction coming. Like I also agree. I agree. I think the market is going to make a major tank, right? And he's going to be there to buy it on the dip. That's, I believe, his strategy. I believe that is going to be the big thing that pushes us over on an economics platform switch. I'll get into that in a minute, but I know that's tied to also the housing market's going to go down, right? We're going to see drops everywhere, not as much as I think people believe will happen with the housing market, but in certain areas it'll be horrible. Other areas it'll be a little bad. But there's such a shortage of homes still. There's such a shortage of places to live that
affordable,
right? It's going to be a problem. There has to be a correction, but I'm really suspicious of the stock market. It's good. I believe it's going to be a massive bear because businesses have been propped up on false data and false speculation, right? That's what the whole market's about. Speculation on what's the value of this company, or what's the value of their product, right? We've seen Nvidia stock obviously correcting. Like, there's been some massive shifts there, but if you look at everything, businesses over the last 20 years have switched from let's get profit heavy to let's get investor heavy. Amazon still isn't profitable, right? They're still tanking all the time, but they're showing massive value because the data they're hoarding, the access to all of our information, and because investors are still dumping money to pump it up even bigger. And they're just knocking out left and right all these small companies. So I think that's one of the biggest factors of what's going to happen in 2026. And I don't know if that's the right way to lead off the episode today, but you jumped into it. So I'm
well, yeah. I had heard that Buffett just came out with a new statement, and I'm just trying to find it here, but that he's very concerned about the U.S. dollar. He's very concerned about where things are going right now. And I even heard that he's taken a lot of that cash and putting it into the yen. I haven't been able to confirm that yet, but also, like you were saying, Paris, is and you as well, Scott, is that if we look at 2009, when the stock market hit the bottom, it was around 6,000, the Dow in particular. So if we compare that to today, and we saw that same downturn, that would take the Dow down to 19,000, and we're at 48,000 something right now. So, and I hear more and more talk from professionals about 38 to 40% downturn at a minimum. That's kind of the minimum. I think down to 19,000 would be. Oh, I don't have a percentage here, but that's that's quite the downturn, and I completely agree with that. And I've always been a bear when it comes to the U.S. markets. Everything's overvalued, and so that's kind of what I see moving forward. But we do know the government is going to print. They've already started, right?
Yep.
They've switched from QT to QE. But it's not QE because they say it's not QE and it's not monetary policy either. There's just something they're doing it. And everybody sees that. The professionals see that and they call BS on it. They're calling BS on it. And so putting more dollars into the U.S. economy is going to make a difference. Absolutely. Maybe it'll drive the stock market up. Who knows? But what is it going to do with real assets? It's going to devalue the dollar, which means gold and silver will continue to go up, and we'll get into that. But what like you say, Scott, you touched on real estate a little bit too. I've got my thoughts on that as well. Is in some areas, maybe majority of areas, that's turned to a buyer's market. And I'm jumping ahead out of the stock market here, but I really think that this year there was a lot of instability in the markets. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just only going to get worse. Again, I don't want to be fearful, and this is not financial advice. Obviously, this is opinion on what I see out there.
Well, we see that there's the problems with the rates, the availability of capital is getting harder to get, right? And also there's the Trojan horse of the Japanese economy, the yen. There's so much debt in the Japanese economy right now, like it's not going to collapse, but it's also aiming towards a massive correction, and that's going to be problematic for the U.S. as well.
Well, that's kind of the same with China too. Like China's not doing that great. They have all those cities that they built that they haven't been able to populate, and they're going to have to deal with the defaults on all that stuff too. So it's like,
well, they never intended to populate those. That was the craziest thing. Those cities were built so that large companies would be able to stay afloat. And it was funded by the government, which was a massively stupid thing to do. Yeah, but that's what they did. There's no population ever that's been there to be able to support the building of those communities. I'm talking thousands, tens, and even hundreds of thousands of units built that there's no intention to ever fill. I watched this was back in April. I watched a really fantastic economist talk about the problems in China. The biggest problem he sees is that the energy usage in China shows that China itself has a population that's missing almost a fifth of the numbers they're reporting. So they don't have as many people as they claim. They don't have the economy they claim, and they're missing a lot of other factors as well.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah,
it's a house of cards. China is a house of cards, and it's not looking good. I think I'm going to save. I was going to jump to a prediction. I'm going to save that for later because it's all going to come full circle. But I think we have to have a correction. I don't think it's going to be a complete collapse, but we have to have a massive correction for stabilization to occur. But I'm really curious what's going to happen with like the IRS, what's going to happen with Trump's taxes ideas, right? And we could go down so many roads right now. It's insane.
What's crazy too is that, the world economy is not doing as well as every world economy that at one point we thought that China was rising and the yen was rising, the yuan, whatever it is, was rising as the dollar was collapsing. And, we're Ray Dalio's book, Changing World Currencies, or what's it called? The Changing World Order. He talks a lot about this idea that the 6 phases of world reserve currencies as they rise and fall. And, in that book, he was talking about at the time how China was on the rise as we're on the fall. And so China might be the next world reserve currency. But then the BRICS nations really took a run. And of course, China's part of the BRICS nations. The other thing that was kind of funny is I follow another economist. He's like, do you really think that that Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Saudi Arabia, or whatever and then the other ones that have been added since, do you really think they're going to be able to come together and figure out what to do to create a world currency? That it's like, it's hard enough for one country to do it, let alone a conglomerate of countries to do it. So he's like, I'm not too sure that we're going to have to worry about the dollar collapsing or the BRICS taking over anytime soon. And I'm like, well, you got a little bit more optimistic view on it than some of us do. But it was just interesting to think that, China is not doing very well with their economy either. And so I was listening to Glenn Beck, and take that for what it's worth. I think he's got a lot of really good facts and points, but he was saying that along those same lines is that every major country right now, every major nation right now has overinflated their currency and their economy to the point where debt and greed are the reigning kind of things that are happening. And that's the fifth stage right before a reset. Yep. Now, if every country in every major country in the world is having that kind of a situation, nobody's left to take over and pick up the pieces if one falls. Like, everybody's going. So, and we're going to get into this in a minute, but I don't know if you guys heard, but XRP got preliminary approval to be a Federal Reserve Trust Bank or something like that. I'm probably doing it injustice, but when you have a cryptocurrency now on the backbone of our financial situation, we got a whole situation. Like, that's a whole nother prediction to talk about potentially, but it's definitely what's gonna come up from if we do crash and burn, so to speak, our economy. What phoenix is going to rise up from the ashes? Is it going to be crypto? Is it going to be digital currency? Is it going to be another country? Is it going to be the BRICS? So those are some things that I'm kind of leaning toward now with this new XRP thing. I'm kind of leaning towards they're definitely going with the digital currency. And that's something that we've talked about, and that's kind of dangerous if you think about it.
Let me bring this up. The next year, the U.S. has to roll over $9 trillion in debt, in notes, in bonds, in T-bills.
And nobody's buying it.
What's that? Nobody
wants to buy it.
Exactly. Plus their deficit spending, which they need to fund, which will be at least $2 trillion, probably more. And so we know that countries are de-dollarizing. So yeah, who's going to buy it? Probably the Fed. They have already started monetizing the debt. I mean, that's already a fact, and that's probably where it's going to go. But I think also part of that is, is gold going to get revalued to put more dollars on their balance sheet? Plus, they've also said, this Project Genesis mission to fund AI. I see these AI companies lose their funding. They don't have power for their facilities. There's a lot more
variables.
Investors out there basically saying this is a bubble. They're being skeptical is the word I'm looking for. A lot more skepticism about this AI thing. And so Trump has already said, we're going to be the AI superpower and the crypto superpower of the world. So I think the government throughout 26 is going to continue to pump money into that, because private equity and such is backing away from, because it's too risky. There are no profits. They're not even able to make any kind of return within the next 10 years. There's no projection of any returns or any profits. Equipment only lasts 3 to 4 years, maybe a little longer. Then they have to buy new chips, and who's buying those? And they haven't even paid them off yet by that. Anyway, big circular
right
there. But it's not pretty.
Nope. Well, it's funny because that's where one of my. Okay, so we're watching that happening. We're watching the dollar just continue to be devalued. Trump's like, hey, we're going to do the U.S. digital stablecoin on the back of Ripple, partnering with all these, right?
Or Tether or whatever.
Tether, yeah. And the goal is to basically undermine the Fed, to, quote, eliminate the need for the Fed, and also creating funds for every child born in the U.S. that will fund the United States and provide funding for the kid. I'm like, no, that's not going to work. It's what's crazy to me is the whole expansion for the new ballroom at the White House. If you look at all the investors who are putting money into that, I call them investors, not donators, because they're investing in a absolutely massive underground digital bunker
and temple,
right, to worship their gods. This is just a move. I think all of this is just a move to create two major political factions, and that there's going to be kind of like BRICS is right now with trying to do its own thing versus the dollar. I think it's going to be two digital currencies come out of it, two alliances, and they're going to put all their eggs into those baskets with this AI controlled digital currency system. That's my, I shouldn't say fear, but that's my gloomy prediction of where this is going. And we're going to see basically 10 major kingdoms created on one side of it, and the other side is going to be, I'm still trying to work that one out, but I just all signs point to, oh crap,
China has the gold. One of the things that's funny too is that everybody was saying that America, the Fed has more gold reserves than all of the other countries combined. And I'm like, yeah, we were supposed to audit that and verify that, and that never did. I never heard of the results.
It was never made public.
So it's like, do we really have? Does the Fed really have that much? I mean, we were talking a little bit before the show, and so I just figured, okay, I Googled what XRP/Ripple just received. They received a conditional OCC approval for Ripple National Trust Bank, which is a huge step for stablecoins and payment infrastructure. That so when money is transferred, so when you get, this is not something that's like a bank that you go down and you pull money out and you have your checking account with. That's not what this is. This is the bank. This would be a bank for the banks. So when they're transferring money around, now it's XRP/Ripple there's still a lot to do that they have to do to get the final approval, but they got a conditional approval to move forward with a national trust bank, which means that that's where when banks are transferring money, when governments are transferring money, they're doing it on the backbone of things like like a trust bank. And so that's going to be huge if they're establishing that as a digital currency that now has access to that level of infrastructure. It's just a matter of time now before digital currencies that's the first, to me, that's a huge step in the direction of making everything digital and having that 100% control that everybody keeps talking about, where they'll be able to control everything we do and say and where we buy, and, oh, you're out of your zip code. Sorry, you can't spend more than $100 because we can, track where you are. And so if XRP and /Ripple get that full approval in 2026, that's a huge move towards that. A lot of people are saying that the reset, our economy will reset and it'll go, and it'll rise from the ashes will be this digital currency. Well, that's setting it up for that, in my opinion.
I think this will be I don't think this will be a reset. I think it'll be a switch. They'll say, oh, we're going to transfer everything into this so that it can be on record all the time, right? The whole thing about cryptocurrencies, blockchain, is that it's visible to everyone at any time, right? That's kind of the stability and security and safety of it is kind of the claim. I think they're going to force push everything into that realm, so then they have absolute access to everybody's information at all times, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think, is where that's where the danger of it is. And I believe that's where our first step of, oh, yeah, you're out of your zip code, or, oh, yeah, you're not allowed to spend that money. Oh, it's on the blockchain. We can see that you have it, but you're not allowed to spend it anymore because which this goes into another one of the predictions, is you said something on Facebook you shouldn't have said. You said something on X that you shouldn't have said, just like what's happening all over the UK. I mean, there's so many parts of the world where this is happening, but I saw a video surface of a guy that was arrested on his way to work, walking to work, and he was arrested for something he'd posted on social media years before.
Wow.
And he had to go down to the magistrate before he could go to work. And he had to be censored. And that is where we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have access to see all of our bank records too, oh,
Forget
you
about
spent
it.
money at some solar company because you're buying your own panels and you want to be off grid. Oh, guess what? Now we're going to fine you and you can't spend your money, or now you're going to get censored, or oh, now there's a federal law that's going to backdate everything and you're going to get in trouble for more. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I just saw a post where a guy in UK got arrested and just going to jail for 18 months for something he posted, and a serial rapist immigrant, a guy, got let free and let go. And I'm just like, what in the world? But that's so. What are we going to? That might lead to some predictions about the immigration issues, and what happened in Bondi Beach in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my predictions are that we're going to see more and more of that as.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be, it's very interesting, because I think that they're going to start talking more and more about how, okay, so anti-Semitism at some point, I feel like, is different. Well, so anti-Semitism is different than not particularly appreciating what the government of Israel is doing. Because even Jews in Israel are like, this government does not represent us. Like, so even the Jews in Israel are saying they're Zionists, not us.
Mm-hmm.
We actually appreciate that, the religion and God and whatnot. And so what's interesting to me is that I think that we're going to start seeing in the next year, maybe even some laws where you can't even say anything negative about Israel or about, it's going to be all under some anti-Semitic laws that are going to start to come into place. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just crazy to me, because I think we're also going to start to see more and more of these false flags where people are starting to have this civil war potential, or war between these factions of people who are Jewish, Israeli, and Muslim and Islamists. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that. And then, of course, that's around the world, potentially even in our own country with as many immigrants as we've had. Yeah. But I also feel like there's going to be a push for having, even within our own country, I think there's going to be a push for more civil discord, civil unrest, and potentially that movie that came out last year, Civil War. I think they're pushing, and maybe not 26, but 27 or 28. I mean, I think they're going to push for some real groundwork for it in 26 at least. And so by 27, 28, we're seeing some big serious things, but it's all propaganda. And so if we are aware of it and we don't fall for it, we'll be safe. I think we'll be safer.
Well, didn't we just see Pam Bondi announce that they're going to start creating a list of I forget how they termed it, but of unfavorable people here in the U.S. I think it was Pam Bondi. But also, before we leave the financial, aspect of our discussion, is inflation and deflation and unemployment are all related to that, right? And those have been big hot topics lately. I mean, I think the official unemployment numbers went up to 4.6 from 4.4, and we know that's all, it's all BS. It's much higher than that. They're not counting things the way they used to. Inflation is still higher than the 2% target, which is all BS anyway. And with this additional currency printing, it's just going to continue to go up. So obviously, that's what we're going to see in 26 is groceries higher, everything higher, services, all that. And utilities, especially, we talked a little bit about data centers. Electricity for a lot of people is going to continue to go up, especially in New York, California, those types of areas. I haven't really seen it here in Utah. Thank goodness. We do have quite a few data centers here, quite a few, with more coming and more being built and more in the plans.
What's interesting too is like with those pushes and with those changes, like we're going to see more and more unemployment in addition to all of that, but they keep defining unemployment differently. It's moved to like, well, if you're not 100% of the time looking for a job, you're not considered unemployed. Even if you have no job, but if you're not spending 100% of your time looking for a job, you're no longer considered unemployed, or they remove the numbers after 6 months. So like they're changing the rules of what they're going to disclose to the public every turn of the corner. Like it's ridiculous. And in the comments, like this is interesting. We're talking about what's going on with the Muslim Brotherhood in there. We're seeing what's going on with population changes. Like Americans aren't having as many babies as they used to have, right? We're seeing a decline in birth rates, but we're seeing a massive shift, a massive incline in birth rates and in illegal immigration, but the birth rates in the illegal immigration side of things, which is also the number one group receiving government funds to be here
and assistance.
Yeah, and that's why it's so hard for the American middle class that's being eliminated intentionally to just survive what's currently going on with our economy and job market and everything else that we're needing to do. And then we just saw, this is funny too, funny, but the discounts on medical insurance have now been removed. So when you're having to buy your forced medical insurance, your rates are going to be, I believe, 30% higher than they were last year.
Dang, dude.
Right. And so we're seeing intentionally the elimination of our rights through all these financial mechanisms.
Well, wait a minute, bro. We're going to, we're going to have no more income tax in the next couple of years because these tariffs are doing so great. And we're going to get a refund to, we're going to defund all these huge insurance companies. We're going to give money back to the people so they can buy their own insurance at a way bigger discount. Right.
So is that part of your prediction for next year, Paris?
That's,
you
I'm
really
just saying what I'm just saying what's come out of the mouth of certain
of course
politicians
certain
in the last
political
month.
People. Yeah. And like, we haven't even dumped into like what's going to happen with our weather. Like it has not snowed consistent. Like in Utah where we live, I usually have snow all over the place.
It was 63 degrees today. Where I live.
I got a little bit of rain today.
Yeah, a bit of rain.
Weather's way off.
Yeah, we had a windstorm and a rainstorm.
You got windy
rain today.
There's massive predictions for a drought. There's massive predictions for weather phenomenon for 2026. I think we're going to see unprecedented fire problems, bigger than we've seen. I also believe we're going to have a even worse hurricane season than ever before. And one of the things that leads me to think of that is what's happening right now in Washington. What's causing all the floods in Washington?
That levee that broke and quote unquote.
But what caused the flood? Air rivers or whatever they call them.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. The basically switching the jet stream, bringing all the moisture in directly in them like a
It's the result of weather manipulation and modification all over the world. All the governments are doing it. It's causing problems, and now we're seeing the backlash of it, right? And there are prophecies in the Bible that tell us that the ocean will exceed its bounds, rivers will dry up, rivers will suddenly appear in places that they don't exist, right? We're going to see a lot of really weird stuff over the next 3 to 5 years. I think we're 2026. I think is going to be the opening up of the worst next 5 years of weather crises that the world has ever seen. I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Well, you want to jump into the next? What are some of the other predictions we have? Wars. We have wars predictions, and we have aliens predictions.
We touched on real estate a little bit, and Scott mentioned a little bit about that, and so did Mike on here. In that, after the 2009 collapse, there was deflation in homes in real estate, and so if we assume the same is going to happen, it might be a good buying opportunity. Yeah, I'm very skeptical about that, and I have my strong opinions on that. Whether there actually will be any significant recovery, for a lot of different reasons. But there will be both inflation and deflation. I think in real estate, we're going to see a lot of deflation. In vehicles, it's crazy. The price of cars, used cars have come down a little bit, new cars have come down a little bit, but we're either going to see a very dramatic change because the market is really slow, really down in automobiles and such. So we'll either see a switch there to where they'll become affordable again, which I kind of don't think so because regulations are not changing. Things have to be deregulated. But I think we're going to see a combination of both deflation in certain things and inflation, which is not a great combination.
Well, I think one thing that car dealerships are doing right now is they're really promoting leases, and leases are not that great financially. In some cases they're very good, but in most people do the leases wrong, or they don't do the lease based on how they should, and they are going to probably end up getting themselves into some trouble. But at least they get a car for a couple of years at a really good price. I know my son sent me a dude who got a brand new Chrysler, I think, minivan or SUV, brand new Chrysler SUV. And after rebates and a bunch of other stuff, he's going to have for the next 2 years, he basically is paying $200 a month for his car lease, which is really attractive, especially if people are trying to save money. But at the end of the day, what is the back end of that contract going to do to him? And so I the front end looks really good, but it's got to be something in there. To me, if it's too good to be true, or if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah. So
they almost always get you in the mileage. That's the biggest problem. It's the mileage is where they get you. I have friends that just traded in their lease for another lease, and I'm like, and they had to pay $7,000 in mileage fines.
Wow.
What?
$7,000. So guess what they did? They rolled that into the new lease.
Of course.
Who can afford $7,000 in mileage fines? I'm like, what did you do? And they're like, well, we've been going on vacations to the States and stuff. And I'm like, that was a bad idea. Rent a car for that. You can't afford
seriously.
Like what? But $7,000. Yeah. Leasing is a scary scam. Like it is.
There are specific situations where it is a good idea, usually for business owners who can write it off, but not for the regular, average, ordinary person who's a W-2 employee. That's you're getting. It's a smoke and mirrors for those folks, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does protect you to a certain extent from all these new cars that have a lot of troubles.
Well, right. They're getting more and more electric and more.
Yep, automatic, all
obsolete. Right there, everything is intended to become more and more obsolete. And I'm just like, I just want to go back to all mechanical.
Did you see that post? I don't know if you saw that news. That piece of news that came out of Russia, where a bunch of people got into their Porsches, and they were totally wouldn't start.
Disabled,
and they've linked it back to the manufacturer, the chip in there. They had shut them all off as part of, I don't know if it was some kind of a false flag or cyber warfare of some kind.
Yeah.
But when you have that much control over the car, that imagine, whoever it is, Germany, China, wherever, they manufacture Ford, GM, wherever you manufacture a car with a chip that you actually have a code to turn it off or on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that wasn't even turned off by the factory. It was turned off by a cloud issue.
Right. So if your car is controlled by the cloud, what the bleep?
Yeah. No thanks.
Because they had an error in the cloud, it shut down all these vehicles. But I'm like,
error, air quotes, error.
The entire. I'm sure someone was being funny with it and messed up on purpose, right? But think about like Tesla, think about Ford, like all these car companies. Oh, you're always connected. You're always connected to the cloud. All the data harvesting, all that connects it to the cloud. It's snap of a finger, and everybody's cars are turned off.
Yeah, or right? Controlled.
Larry Ellison's getting all his dreams coming true because the spying on us is there. We were tracking everybody with our phones and all of our data plans. tracking everybody, all of your purchases online, and he and his son are buying up all the different movie production studios so they can force narratives, right? We are living in a time where they watch everything we do, and we just sit there gleefully like, oh, guys, I'm watching Netflix, everything's good.
Well, yeah, you said the key word for their war, and what happened this last week where the U.S. seized that oil tanker?
Oh yeah,
that is absolutely an act of war,
100%.
And I don't remember all the details, so I won't.
That's the one off of the coast of Venezuela.
Yeah, exactly. And they said
they're going to, and not just but they have a huge armada there too. Like the biggest thing sitting off. Like
and they're saying they're going to take more of them that are coming in. One in particular, I think, is coming in. Another Russian ship full of, I forget, but they said they're going to take it. A lot more is happening behind the scenes than we know about, than we're being told about. And I think, with that taking of that tanker, we are officially at war. And I think we really have been for a long time. People, since Russia invaded Ukraine in 22, you could say that was the beginning of World War III. I mean, who knows when they would look back, what date we can put to that, because it's always in hindsight. But I don't see that as getting any better next year. Any of this, Ukraine, Iran, obviously the event in Australia is now supposedly linked to Iran, right? So Israel is going to do something about that. All these supposed peace treaties, they're doing. There's nothing's happening. I mean, they've all been broken, and so I see that as that's just going to continue. We see, we're coming to an agreement, and it falls through. And we're figuring something else, and then it just goes back and forth, and it's just it's. I think it's all a show. Like I've said many times, all the world's a stage. It's just all theater, and I don't see that as getting any better next year. But also, as part of that, what I've seen this year is that's been very apparent to me, and I'd like to see all you chime in about this, is that it has become very obvious how criminal this government is. Very obvious, and yet nothing is being done. Nobody does anything about the Democrats don't do anything about the Republicans. The Republicans don't do anything about the Democrats when they typically would go nuts back and forth over this. And they're not saying anything.
It's a dog and pony show.
Exactly. They're the same party. It's two wings on the same bird, two sides of the same coin. I said it a million times. That's going to continue to get worse, which means this administration is going to continue to take more and more power, just like shooting boats out of the water. And sure, some people complain about, but what's done about it? Nothing. That's just going to continue to get worse, and Trump's going to take more power. The government's going to take more and more power.
Well, and we're going to see as we have more and more of these conflicts. Like scripturally, we're promised wars and rumors of wars, and that the whole world will be at war, right? And Field Tax said this: if you guys are not watching on YouTube or hopping in on Wednesday nights with us, you're missing out, because the conversation in the chat is gold. But like, we're talking all kinds of good stuff. But like, for example, Field Tech, we've been in a soft war since 2020 with the pandemic, and then Ukraine, and then Iran, and then and it's going to just continue to be, and then. And what do we know about the pandemic? It was all mapped out at Johns Hopkins University, like medical hospital. They ran the whole scenario with the intention to have it happen when 2027.
Well, and the main war is on the people. That's where the war is, and that's what we need to recognize: is the war is against us.
Yes and no. I think what we're failing to see as a society is that we are funding it, right, by our consumerism. And that is the distraction that they're using to do whatever they want with all the other countries, right? We are the most propagandized country in the world. America is. I love America. I love what America stood for, right? But our government has has gone far from those ideals. They have abandoned the Constitution. They've abandoned morality. They've abandoned common sense and are purely acting on their own self-interests. And that's the problem. And we are bartering chips in their game. And it's only going to get worse. We have to start pulling ourselves out of the system. You know, we talk about this all the time. Like, I use less and less of the system resources as much as possible the older and older I'm getting, but it's getting harder. I mean, we got a baby coming, and I've got to go back to the hospital and start using systems again, right? This sucks. But there's a line we have to start drawing and staying on our side so that we don't lose ourselves in the process.
And exactly.
What's interesting is we're on the precipice of massive change at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the world is not paying attention to it. Or at least, let's say most of America is not paying attention to it. They're too busy fighting over their identity politics or their failed indoctrination from the American educational system, right? There's so many other problems that we're facing, and they're running headlong into, please let AI do everything for me. Please let AI solve my problems. Oh, I need a counselor. Oh, AI can do it for me, right? Sarah Connor is probably side-eyeing everybody in America right now, the whole world, like, you guys, this is how they got you. Remember, we did movies about this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all like, sweet, Genesis program, let's do this, right? It's crazy how accurate everything is based on those movies.
Well, those movies were all predictive programming for what they wanted to do, and so they're just bringing it all to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I shared with you guys before the show that I was on a call this morning about with the CEO of Plaid, that service that brings payment processor and allows you to connect your app to your bank account. And it's one of those back office, the connectors that, transfers between institutions and financial institutions. And he was saying that his predictions for 2026 are going to be that financial management, financial money management, and things like even I was even thinking that he was trying to say that even what I do for a living is probably going to be out of business. Although I don't think it'll be that fast, because people like to have the face-to-face. In my opinion, I've had way too much interaction with people. They're like, I'm so grateful that I have a real person to talk to. But there's going to be a huge amount of, for example, you could probably log in to a website and deal with an AI mortgage lender, and they're moving toward being able to, for some population of the people, depending on their financials, you could literally buy a house with an AI mortgage professional, or some other transactions that they're talking about, like other transactions that are similar like that you could do it all with an AI person or an AI software. And that's kind of scary to think that. So AI is now going to have total control or all the information about all of our finance. I mean, they have it already, right? But it's just more and more getting to the point where AI is going to have absolute full transparency and be able to look into your financials, see your net worth, see your liabilities, see your assets, see everything, and you see your credit and tell you, yes, you're approved for this loan, all through AI. Yeah, that's something that was kind of like, okay, well, that's where everyone's going with AI, is to be able to make some of these systems and these mundane things that we do as humans a little easier. But unfortunately, I think, it's going to be like the singularity, where it's going to take over and it's going to start controlling things. And that's where it gets a little crazy. And that's some of his predictions for 2026 was that a lot of this, one of the other, as part of that though, unfortunately, he says that there's going to be a lot more fraud, and a lot of the people that are nefarious actors, they're going to be able to use this AI to get funding and for nefarious purposes until institutions can implement safeguards and protections. So we might have a huge amount of theft going on before we with AI, if that's what happens, before we get this thing dialed in to where it's safe. And so that's something that that's pretty scary today too. We only got a few more minutes. We haven't gotten into the alien.
That's actually what I was going to get to. But first of all, I'm going to say that I don't believe AI will ever be safe. I mean, you guys have heard me say that I don't think anything good will ever come of AI. Period. It is the counterfeit to actual, godly intelligence. But I just saw a movie trailer just before we got on. It's called Disclosure Day, and guess what it's about? Aliens.
Oh, there you go.
Another movie. I mean, it looks really good, but see, that's how they draw you in.
Is that the one with Steven Spielberg?
No. I think it's. I heard you talk about that. I'm like, no, I don't think it is. But I just saw a 2-minute trailer, so I don't know much about it. But of course, they're just showing their agenda, right? They're just disclosing.
Yeah, that's the one.
Disclosure Day. So, that's been a topic this year. Oh, we're going to tell you all about aliens. We're going to tell you all about this. And yet nothing comes through. So maybe 26 is actual Disclosure Day, right? We're going to, and that's one line in this trailer said, I'm going to show the whole world all at once. I'm going to disclose everything all at once to the world. Like, okay, that's kind of ominous. It kind of fits in with everything else we're talking about.
So the premise of that movie, I watched Redacted. Redacted did a section on their show a couple of days ago on this movie. And this movie is basically Steven Spielberg, who was the one who did the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was Close Encounters of the Third Kind is supposedly, so back in the day of, Eisenhower and back when that movie came out, apparently Eisenhower had a meeting with some aliens. And Close Encounters of the Third Kind is the movie, because they were gonna release all the information and they were gonna tell the general population about it, but then they're like, no, we better not do that. Let's just make a movie. And so Steven Spielberg apparently was in on. He was brought in to say, hey, let's make a movie so that people are at least satisfied in some way. And so apparently it's going to be some kind of he's finally, and this is the Steven Spielberg movie I was telling you about earlier today, guys, where he's going to disclose everything that he actually learned all around make the process of making that movie. And it's going to be pretty crazy to see what comes from it. And so I'm actually interested to see it myself, to be honest, because there's this huge push to reveal, especially with Atlas, 3i Atlas, or whatever this spaceship that's supposed to come through. It's on this Friday, actually. Right. So right now we're live on the 17th of December. This is going to go out on the podcast probably on the 23rd. It'll probably be in the morning of the 23rd. It'll go out. So on the 19th of December, 3i Atlas is supposed to go past the Earth, its closest point to the Earth. We'll still need to use a telescope to see it, but it's also supposed to pass by Mars. And they're thinking that it's going to do something with Mars and connect with the caverns there and terraform it a little bit. Like, there's this whole thing, dude. Like, it's pretty wild and crazy what they think. And they're like, and one of the guys was like, look, if I was an alien race, or if I was some highly intelligent extraterrestrial, I would want to make a spaceship that looked like a comet, so that other worlds wouldn't know what we were doing when we were passing by them.
Yeah. And that's probably the only way it will actually work, is using natural anomalies like comets and meteors, is actually write it or create something that mimics it or whatever.
I mean, if they reveal, there's a whole, we could do a whole episode on why they're trying to do the alien. Why is this alien invasion thing or the alien communication thing so important? One of the main things is to rally the world. Like, if we had an alien force come out and they said, take me to your leader, which country, which leader, so it's the idea is, if we're going to have this interaction, we need to have a one world government, one leader that we can communicate with these other worlds through and with. And so that's one of their ideas, or one of their ways, I think, that they're going to try to kind of push this whole one world government, one world economy, one world religion. And the one world religion, they're slated to have the one world religion in 2027 or 8, and they need to have a one world economy before they can do it. So that could be our 26, 27 prediction right there, is why they're going to have, we'll see what God allows them to do. But, they make plans, and then God allows or doesn't allow.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess last few minutes, what are the positive things we'll see in 26? What do you think? I have a few of my own I could start, but we've obviously seen what silver and gold have been doing lately. I love that. I'm all about that. Here's my prediction for silver for 26, and it's not just mine. I've heard other experts say something similar. $200 silver by the second quarter. That's a good thing. I mean, for some people it's not.
I heard $100, but
$200 second quarter.
Wow.
I think we'll hit $100 in January.
Didn't we just hit like $67 this week?
Today, yeah.
Today, and then it dipped back down to 66, I think. Wow. That would be insane. I'm excited. There's a revival going on, and I believe it's going to get bigger and bigger going into 2026. A Christianity revival. Missionary work worldwide is up. Numbers are up. People are coming to Christ in unbelievable numbers, which means there's hope for people, right?
Yeah.
People are coming to their senses. I think that's also going to lead to people starting to take serious the necessity, the need to work together to start fixing the problems in our world. Yeah. And it's when we have one heart and one mind that we can do that.
I personally believe that I'm going to, in my own business, I'm looking for opportunities amidst all of the chaos. Whenever there's change, those people who kind of identify the trend or where things are going to go, or kind of keep their pulse, their ear to the ground, and they're watching what things are happening and grab hold of something. I think that people in 2026 who take advantage of some of the chaos that's happening right now in a positive way will end up either creating businesses or being able to expand their business on an individual. This is an individual basis here. I'm not talking collectively in the economic collective. I'm talking individually speaking. People who take advantage of that are going to be able to really bolster their income, bolster their wealth. And I think that there's going to be some great opportunities. I personally have some pretty optimistic things that I'm looking at for my business. And so what I'm trying to do next year. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And I think that another thing along the lines of what Scott's talking about is that not only is there awakening, in my opinion, to Christ and Christianity, but there's an awakening to the real nefarious. There's an awakening to the enemy. People are realizing that the promises that they've been told by their governments and by their political leaders are not actually what's coming. We're seeing, like, I just saw a whole thing about South Korea or North Korea or something. One of these places that's communist, they had a huge uprising of some of their youth. They're tired of it, and they're revolting. I see. So there's an awakening happening across the world of people saying, look, we no longer want to be controlled, because we want to be, we recognize that we have liberty and sovereignty, and we want to do our own thing. So I think that's part of the process of this awakening process, is this people that have been long asleep are waking up and saying, enough's enough. We want to take back control of our lives.
Yeah, that's true. We see that a lot around the world. Definitely. Hopefully that continues into next year.
Yeah.
Final thoughts for the night. I know we've hit our hour.
Well,
those are my final thoughts.
Reiterate, don't be afraid, don't fear, prepare.
Yeah. Also, it's Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah.
Remember the reason for the season. The reason why we have the season is because we celebrate the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And whether you believe that he's the Savior or not, you have to recognize that this time of year, there's just a different charity. There's just a different level of respect and love. Generally, there's usually a lot more kindness in people's hearts individually, interpersonal communication. Of course, I'm not talking about Black Friday mobs. I'm talking about like dealing with your neighbor. I literally, in the last week, I've had 2 neighbors bring by gifts. They're little kids with their little kids saying, hey, we want to just give you some salsa, give you some cookies, and my family's going to be baking cookies this weekend, and we're going to be taking out to our neighborhood and just, dropping off cookies to our friends and people we love and appreciate in our neighborhood. So there's still a lot of good in this world, and we need to embrace it and be a part of it and continue to bring more light. That's my final thought.
Amen.
Love it. So I 100% agree with everything you guys just said. I really feel like right now we need to focus on, number one, getting right with God. Number two, building your community up. Take some guests over. Spend some time with them. Let everybody know that Santa Claus and Saint Nick are two different people. Santa Claus wasn't real. Saint Nick was a real guy. And one of the things I want to bring up, good old Saint Nick at the Council of Nicaea punched the heretic Arius for saying that Jesus Christ was not divine. So I just want to put that out there as my final thought of the year before Christmas. It's okay to punch a heretic every once in a while. When words won't stop them, we've got to take action is my point. Go make bridges before you have to destroy them to protect yourself. And if you can make bridges with people and get people on the same page as you, you'll do a lot better in the days to come. Guys, stay frosty. I know it's Christmas, and so everyone's thinking of cold stuff, but stay frosty, stay aware, stay awake, but also look for people you can serve. Find ways to help your community. Look for the homeless, look for the widows, look for the orphaned. See who you can help this holiday season and get out there and make a difference. And for your family, stockpile. If you need resources, go to preppertalkradio.com. We've got a resources page with tons of cool stuff you can check out. We've even got resource guides on how to plan, how to prepare better. And you can also get involved with our group, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance on Facebook. But until next time, stay ready-minded. Stay in your lane. Get better at what you're doing and bring other people, get them on the bus and help them get prepared too. Have a great night, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Take care, guys.
See you next week.